So, this wasn't some dream I chased. I didn't set out to be a business owner. I was a mum with three kids living in a rural village in Hungary with a literally 20 euros left after paying bills and food, and a husband so stressed about not being able to provide for his family that half of his face literally stopped working. This business, it wasn't a plan, it was the only option I had left. Back in Business is the unfiltered podcast for service providers, founders, and women in business who are done pretending it's all smooth sailing. This is the real, slightly chaotic, often hilarious side of business, the part you don't see, but absolutely need to hear. Join me, Kim Zojva, Executive Virtual Assistant, Business Manager and multiple business owner, as I share honest conversations from my own journey and fellow businesswomen. We go behind the brands to talk about the moments that shape our businesses, big wins, fuck-ups, mindset shifts, strategy and everything in between. This is Business, unfiltered, and you're definitely not doing it alone. So today's episode is pretty personal, and to be honest, I wasn't sure if I was going to share this soon, but I think sometimes we need to hear the stories that don't sound like strategy or mindset hacks or six-figure blueprints. This one's about survival. I didn't start this business because I had some amazing entrepreneurial dream. I wasn't feeling called or inspired. I started this business because we were literally broke, because we had 20 euros left at the end of the month, because my husband, who had worked the same job for 20 years, a secure employed safe job, lost it with no warning 1 week before Christmas, and I had just given birth to our third baby 6 weeks earlier. To say it was a shit show is definitely an understatement. So let me back it up a little bit so that I can tell you a little bit about me and my background. So I was born in Britain. My mum is English and my dad is Hungarian. I studied animal science and I worked with multiple animal charities and spent years as a kennel manager at the Great Dane Adoption Society in Lincoln. Then life kind of happened. I ended up working at Pucker Pies. Yes, the famous ones that you see on the football. If you're living in the UK, you must have seen these somewhere. And I was there for 7 years. Not because I loved it, but because I was a teenager going into my 20s and I wanted money, I wanted to travel, I wanted to go out, I wanted to party. And the animal care was just not paying well at all. Whereas Pucker Pies, they had quite a good payment system, and you end up getting stuck when you're on good pay, even if you hate the job. And that's where I was. And I remember one day looking around this factory and looking at all the women who've been there for 20 plus years, and then just thinking to myself that these women left school with some sort of dream, some aspirations, and now they're here. They're stuck, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to live like this, and I definitely don't want to work in this factory forever. So when my parents were moving to Hungary, I saw that as my way out. I took a TEFL certificate, packed up my life and moved to Hungary with my ex-husband and 6-week-old baby. The plan was for my ex to work full-time and I'd be a stay-at-home mum teaching English on the side, because the price of living in Hungary was a lot less, and that would enable me to be able to do that. So, the marriage didn't work out. That's a completely different episode. But the silver lining was I did end up meeting my soulmate here in Hungary. And together we built a life, had 2 more children, and thanks to him, I was able to continue being a stay-at-home mum. Then 2019 hit. 6 weeks after giving birth to our third son, 2 weeks after, literally 2 weeks after moving into our new home that we'd just got mortgaged, the same house that still needed major renovations, with 3 very small young children, all under the age of 5, my husband was let go from his secure employment job. Just like that, no warning, no redundancy, no plan. He hadn't done anything wrong. He was just let go because they no longer needed him. And that was supposed to be a secure employment. And it was literally 1 week before Christmas. So it was very frightening. 2 months later, he still hadn't found work. I had tried to find something, but we live in a remote mountain village where nobody speaks English, and there were no jobs for someone who doesn't speak Hungarian. And then COVID hit. And with that, any hope of getting hired was completely out of the window. We were living off child benefits and our savings. Well, the savings were running out fast. I remember looking at the bank one month after paying bills and buying only the absolute necessities, like the basics, just to keep us alive, really. And there was like €20 left. And I remember that exact night it all hit. We were sat on the sofa and my husband started complaining about tingling in his face. The whole side of his face literally dropped. I really believe that he was having like a mini stroke. So we managed to get him to the doctor, and he said it was Bell's palsy caused by stress. The stress of not being able to provide for his family and the feeling of just complete powerlessness. That moment was literally my breaking point, and just teaching just wasn't an option because of COVID. Even though we could teach online, there was just nothing coming up because the online space was not as accessible as it is now, and it definitely wasn't that accessible in Hungary for sure. So I literally desperately opened up my very old, half broken 10-year-old laptop and I just started Googling. I looked at literally everything. I signed up to OnlyFans. I mean, I didn't get to the point where I was posting anything because I really, at the time, had no idea what to do with it. I was looking at potentially selling feet pictures to making crafts on Etsy, and it just nothing was working. And then one night I found Upwork and I took on anything: product reviews, proofreading, admin jobs, and then I got my first bigger client, and they were paying me €200 a month to literally match images to words. So it was a language learning app, and I got that with my TEFL background. And literally, they paid me €200 a month, 20 hours a month to match pictures to words. And that might sound like nothing, but we literally were scraping pennies together. So €200 was just an immense amount of money for what we'd just gone through, like for 6-7 months. And I remember filling up my first shopping basket with just so much food. We had such a good weekend. But Upwork had a lot to answer for to help me getting started. And eventually I landed a big client who was a VA coach. And at the time, I didn't even know what a VA was, but she offered me a deal that she'd pay me $2.50 per hour and teach me everything I need to know. Now, people were losing their minds that I was allowing somebody to pay me $2.50 per hour. Now, looking back over that whole thing, this is definitely a different podcast episode. It didn't end very well. Yeah, I'm going to leave that for another episode. But I went in there with the view that I'm getting a little bit of money, but I'm going to take everything I possibly can from this woman's brain to build a career out of this, because I'd already been introduced to this online world and I knew I could do it. I just needed that break. And I literally absorbed every bit of information that I could from her. And that was it. Just this whole world opened, and it was the start of everything. And now I'm here running my own business, doing work I love, supporting other women to do the same. And honestly, I wouldn't change any of it, because if none of that had happened, the job loss, the €20, the palsy, the panic, the working for $2.50 per hour, I wouldn't be doing this. I definitely wouldn't be living like this now. And neither would my husband, because now he gets to live his dream too. He always had a dream. His end goal was to make enough money to start his own farm. And had he have stayed in that full-time employment, as bad as it was at the time, we literally thought our lives were ending. It was actually the best thing that could have happened, because it prompted me to start my business, which then allowed him to start his dream of running a farm. So I really do believe that everything happens for a reason. But I definitely didn't build this business because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I built it because I had to. And what started in survival turned into something I love and that I'm really, really proud of. So if you're in that space right now where you're just trying to stay afloat, or you've started a business and it's not working, or you feel like it's not working, or you're not getting any clients and you don't know where to turn, I just want you to know that the messy start doesn't always mean it won't turn into something beautiful. And that might sound really cheesy, but it's true. And just don't give up. Please don't give up. Like, just keep going. And while I'm completely switching up my own business, I'll be sharing all the real stories, tips, and lessons along the way. So if you want to follow along in real time, come hang out on social media. You'll find all the links below in the show notes. I will be posting there a lot more because I've been very quiet for the past couple of years. Again, I'm going to share why in another podcast episode. And I'm all about building a strong, supportive business community for women. We're literally only 2 episodes into this podcast. So if you've enjoyed it so far, it would mean the world to me if you could follow along, give it a like, leave a quick review so I can keep sharing my stories and eventually bring in other incredible women to share theirs too. And hey, if you have a story to tell, just reach out, send me an email, send me a DM on Instagram, and I'd love to give you the space on here to share that. So thanks for being here, and I will see you in the next one.